Volume 2, Hadith 628, narrated Atta. Jabir said, the Prophet ordered Ali to keep on assuming his ihram, pilgrim clothing, in state. The narrator then informed about the narration of Suraqa. In Book 24, Chapter 34, we are reminded that physical labor to fulfill our needs saves us from the hellfire. And if you receive charity, not being greedy about it, then there's blessing in it. Chapter 35 is about how charity should be given to those who are more needy. Chapter 36 reminds us if we go around asking for what we don't need and, just going around to take from people, then from our form will be taken on the day of resurrection. Chapter 37 reminds us to not put ourselves in a state where we're going to have to beg. And there's poor people that their condition isn't known to people. So, not making a point of knowing your condition. That's why sometimes you find the reference to putting oil in your hair and over your lips to hide the effects of fasting. Now, the conditions that will usually cause the chapped and stuff like that, this is going to happen whether you're fasting or not, but, and you should estimate the amount of fruit that you have if you're going to give, in charity from it. Like if you have a lot, then you may need to give charity. You figure out what that is. And what did we say? It was 1,800 kilograms or something like that as a minimum of fruit. Chapter 38 regards that. Chapter 39 reminds that a 20th is what is due on the gross of a land if it's irrigated, but if it's just naturally watered, it's a 10th. Chapter 40 is how there can be collective giving. You know what I mean? Everybody brings something and it's put in a collective pile, so there's not the totally keeping track of who brought what. Chapter 41 reminds us that you don't take back charity and you don't buy back the thing that was given in charity. And because certainly once it's given in charity, you may get a better deal because people feel like, oh, well, so they might feel sympathy or feel like they can't push you as hard for a, greater payment. So you don't want to take part in that. And, well, carrion, you can still use the, you can, you don't eat carrion, but you can use the hide. So you can still cure the skin and all that. And people with bone tools, I guess that, but some people are going to say bone tools aren't allowed, so I'll leave that for another set of narrations to address the issue with the use of the bone, but certainly the skin Chapter 43 is about the transference. So those that shouldn't get charity can receive gifts of the charity portion. They're not asking for it, but they don't receive of it directly. So we see even beyond that, there's this spreading in society. That's why in my country, the idea of giving all these, the majority of the welfare is towards the rich directly, and then the indirect, if it was just given to the poor and they cut off indirect welfare, it would spread better among society, but people kind of don't get that. Chapter 44 reminds us to beware of the curses of others if they're in a downtrodden position. You don't want to add to anybody's oppression at all. And a lot of people be like, well, I want something. And that's what I have to face, is somebody saying, well, they want something. And that's not how it works. There's no excuse to not fulfill your terms, to deprive people. Chapter 45 reminds to ask blessings upon those who give alms. And one of the greater blessings you can offer is Allahumma salli ala Allah. So all divinity, your benedictions are contact upon the family of, because the family of is where the legacy comes through. Chapter 46 reminds us about the person who gave charity by throwing it into the sea. Now, that's an exception of when it was, accepted. That's not a smart thing to do. It's better to withhold until you get, it wasn't charity. It was, paying off a creditor. That especially, they're not going to be like, well, I put it in the sea. They're going to be like, well, here's your money anyways. And the rest of the story, which isn't here, is when he returned, the person said that it's already been paid off. In chapter 47, the simple accident of the environment, there's not a fee for that. Now, to compensate for it. But it's different when there's safety regulations that they could have put in place, but they didn't because they figured they could handle the lawsuit better than they could the safety regulations, or they sent people in there being like, well, the delay is going to be costly, so we'll put no. Then there's compensation. In chapter 48, because we're going to finish this chapter before we go on, is about, you check the account of what's due from the person that collects. So it's not just they collect and, whatever, the person in charge of the collectors should go figure that out. And we have the branding of the animals in chapter 49 that, were the charity animals.